Good afternoon, sports fans from all around the world. From Cape Cod to Cancun, from Tampa to Taipei, from Vegas to the Vatican. I am your host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors Breakfast Bankroll. Today, myself and Scott Webb will talk about last night's small MLB menu as the favorites keep rolling in. Wow. Amazing, amazing. 5 game slate turned into a 4 game slate due to Mother Nature. Big slate today, a lot of opening series that we got to talk about, a lot of steam overnight, and we are not a dry cleaner, and so steam always isn't the way to go. But without further ado, the man from the Palm Tree State himself, Mr. Scott E. Webb. Scotty, my brother, what is up today?
Hey, good morning, Jeff. And what is today? Today is Tuesday, right? So happy Tuesday to everyone and yourself.
Yeah, we talked yesterday at length about the weekend, about the last 5 days, and now we'll make it 6 days, as I will show right here. The favorites in the last 5 days. Now it is actually, that was the 5 day report. So let's go right here. Apologies. Yesterday, favorites 3-1, overs 4-0. The only dog that cashed, Indians plus 162. Favorites, the last 6 days, 58-19 in the MLB. Thoughts?
I think that's normal. I think that at this time of the year, those teams that are favored to win have reasons to be favored to win, and they've played 100 games. So in a lot of ways, I think that's normal. I think that's a big number. I think that you run into the situations where the good teams streak now, right? So these teams that are trying to make playoffs, these teams that are trying to position themselves to have spots in the end of the season here, they're streaking, right? So look at the Phillies; they keep winning. The Yankees, they keep winning. The Blue Jays, they keep winning. The Rays, they keep winning, and they're all favorites all the time. So those are going to be the teams, that until you get the matchups that make it a little different, right? So like today, the Red Sox play the Rays. There's going to be some of that kind of stuff that starts to change that dynamic a little bit. So then you got two good teams playing against each other, and I don't think you're going to see the favorites win all the time.
Yesterday's menu, 4 games, one got rained out. We at ECSI always try not to mess with Mother Nature. It's undefeated, and yesterday it did prevail as the Cubs and Brewers got rained out. And we actually released Brewers' first 5. So, hey, we're 0-0 and we're undefeated this week. I did want to talk about the big dog that cashed. I talked about this on the show yesterday, and I talked to a lot of clients yesterday about this. I called it a pancake game. And the reason I called it a pancake game is since he was sitting home getting fat over the Pirates, and then they had a makeup game in Cleveland, crosstown rivals, and then they got to fly to Atlanta and face the Braves in big series for both teams. So the Reds leave Cincy, head to Cleveland. Hey, leave your suitcases. In the we're already flying them to Atlanta. Don't worry. Just get to the field, play the game. And with Castillo, especially, you didn't know which Castillo you were going to talk about. We talked a lot about Hentages, who has not been good. But the point of the matter is we saw the Reds basically say, all right, we got to make this game up. Castillo stunk, and let's just get in, get out, no one get injured, and let's get on to Atlanta.
Yeah, those are those weird scenarios that happen, and that's a good call out because that's just not a good spot to support teams like that. It's you try to figure out how to get in on games, and then you work your ass off and you get in on that game, and then you didn't read into what the what the week was like for that team. So you run into some of that sometimes. It's especially with the makeup games, and there's two of them today. So there's two doubleheaders today. So it's kind of weird. One of them, that game in L.A. where Toronto's playing, is they're listed as the home team in the first game, and then they're listed as the away team in the second game. So it's just but that matters. So it matters only in a sense to how you bet games and what you're doing. So you got to pay attention, because there are spots like that, and then things happen. Yesterday for me, I only had the one play. I took the over 2.5 runs for the Marlins, and hell, shit, they took a long enough time to get there, but they did. They scored 3, and that's all it took. So, you get through. They got 1 off of Musgrove, but I thought they'd get 2 off Musgrove, and they had some opportunities, but they just didn't. Well, they're the Marlins, so they can't score anyway. But they got it done yesterday, so wasn't a bad day overall for us.
You talked about it, and it is so important for guys in our business to go the extra mile, to go the extra distance, where the public, the DJs, the guys just looking for actions, don't peel the third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh layer of that onion. And most of them probably just saw the game and didn't realize that it was a makeup on Cincinnati, just a drive-by. That's all. And the fact that they got to go to Atlanta, two teams fighting to really make a move into that wild card race in Atlanta, obviously for the NL East. And you talked about the two double headers today. And I'll be perfectly honest with you. Early in the season, I was looking at team totals and under over, and I fell off my stool because I saw an under over of 4.5 or 5. And I've never seen that in my life. And I'm like, who's Pedro facing? Bob Gibson? I'm like, this is unreal. I've never seen this. And then someone on social media goes, Jeff, it's a 7-inning game. And I'm like, duh, and there's just so much of that you just got to pump the brakes, breathe, take it all in, and then start. For us here at ECSI, just following these numbers 24/7, 365. At the end of the night, when I finally try to put my head on the pillow, we take that snapshot of where the lines consist. And then whether I'm up at 5:30 in the morning, 6:30, whatever it is, go back in. Has there been any movement? Some of them do move already. Some you have to wait till 8, 9 in the morning East Coast time, but there is movement. And as we're going to talk about in a second here, is there was a lot of movement last night, and I called it steam for a reason. We don't follow the steam, but it does send us alerts. Any weird stuff that you do overnight to the morning, anything that you might be able to help convey to the listeners now?
Well, I think it's important to have a line that you've made the night before, and then you might have to adjust it a little bit depending upon what happens or what's going on in the game that happened overnight. But it's very little, right? So a lot of people think that when you make your own lines and you do your own things, that if you're missing a player that's I don't know. Let's just say the White Sox are playing and Abreu's not going to play today. Then you have to go adjust the line, right? Well, you really don't. The lines. What matters is if Abreu's not playing, and then Anderson's not playing, and then Jimenez is not playing, and then this other guy's not playing, right? So then you got to start looking at the line because ideally you're setting these lines based off of the pitchers and the pitchers' matchups to the hitters that they're facing and where they've been and what they're doing. So I think it's important not to so much pay attention to who's not playing. That's a DFS thing more than anything. But if you look at it from a specific standard of the group of players, if you're like the Yankees, right? The Yankees aren't the Yankees right now. I mean, when the Yankees were winning there for a minute ago, and it just seems like a minute ago, and they were scoring all the runs, that's because Rizzo was in there. Okay, well, Rizzo's not in there, but also neither is the shortstop, and now you got an outfielder that's not playing. So now you got this rookie guy playing shortstop. You got a rookie guy in outfield. You got old man Gardner trying to do something, and you got a team that has five regular players and four guys that can't play for they can't play for the Orioles. So what ends up happening is you have to lower the expectation on a team like that, and then when they get their players back, then you got to raise it back up again. But that's kind of what I'm talking about by understanding a little bit about what the lines are and where they go. I don't pay too much attention other than I try to figure out as fast as I can who the pitchers are, because then I can get my research done and do some data, and then I can theoretically get a little deeper sometimes when I have time to look at specific matchups and pitchers' strengths of what they throw to get outs versus what hitters can hit.
Well, here's today's slate. I have some boxes checked off. I'm just going to throw some stuff at you. Again, the overnight to the actual public release and what I called Steam. Washington at the Mets, Espino versus Carrasco. And if I'm not mistaken, this is Carrasco's third start. Okay. 195, and I'm going to use Pinnacle for all the opening, or I should say overnight numbers, and to where they are now. They open them up at 195, now currently at 218. So there is a 23-cent move there. Miami at San Diego, Garrett versus Stammen, opened at 180, now 217. So there was a 47-cent move there.
Hey Jeff, on that game, the reason I think you're seeing a line change is because the original listed pitcher was Rogers.
There it is right there. Rogers has been one of their best pitchers, so that's perfect there. We talked about the Rays, Patino versus Rodriguez. Sox opened at 130, now 129. Would expect the sharper money to see the value, obviously, in the first place Rays there. Oakland at Cleveland, Manaea versus McKenzie. Oakland and Manaea opened at 158, now 139, so a 19-cent drop there. Texas and Seattle, this one I'm going to talk about at some point. Allard versus Gilbert, 187, now to 205. Gilbert, these guys matched up less than a week ago, and Seattle rolled. And usually the second time around doesn't always follow that suit. So it's kind of interesting there that there was an 18-cent move there. Colorado at Houston, Gray versus Odorizzi, 169. Houston now 189. Can see that after Houston's flop over the weekend. And Milwaukee and the Cubs, Peralta versus Steele. Peralta opened at 209, now 183. Anything pop up there that kind of grabbed your eye initially?
Well, that Washington-New York Mets game is interesting to me because I think everybody's jumping in on Carrasco. Not too early. I mean, he can pitch. The what I think they're jumping in on though is in the wrong way because this is only his third start. He's only going to go 4 or 5 innings. He's not going to go longer than that. And do you really want to put your money on the Mets bullpen?
No.
So that's what people are doing. So if you want to look at that game, please don't do that game as a game where you're banking on Carrasco throwing 7-8 innings because more than likely that's not going to happen. The other ones that you had mentioned sort of in there, and one of the ones I kind of like is that Colorado Houston game. Not because I think you should bet against Houston, but Colorado is off of such an offensive surge that now they get to face a pitcher in Odorizzi who's very hittable. And I think you can get a good team total on Colorado in that game. So I kind of like that one. I'm kind of staying away from that Seattle game that you had mentioned just for the same reasons that you had brought it up. I like that pitcher, Gilbert. And I don't like Allard. Allard's getting hit pretty hard. And then these other games, right? So Peralta against Steele today. Peralta's an ace type pitcher, and Steele, he's only made one start, and he's an opener type, or he hasn't made any starts. I'm sorry, and he's only made one appearance or two appearances, and he's only thrown one or two innings. So and how are you going to expect the Cubs to be able to win that game? So that's the matter of then trying to figure out how do you want to get in on Milwaukee. I thought it was interesting, the St. Louis Pittsburgh game, just because of who's pitching. You got Happ pitching for St. Louis, and Brault is pitching for Pittsburgh. This will be his third start since or the whole season. He's been hurt, and Brault's not been terrible, and Happ has been horrible. So it's just interesting to see how some of these lines shake out. And then I just kind of like the matchup there of Scherzer and Nola. I mean, I just think that's going to be a pretty good game.
And it's funny because Phillies have won, I think, 7 in a row. They, like you said yesterday, they swept the week. Had a little banter with a Phillies fan. We were on Wheeler, and I think we were on Nola first 5 also last week. And unfortunately, Phillies lost the first 5 and then came back to win. But I talked about who their real ace is, and it is Wheeler. And then I get the jab, well, who started opening day, first game of the year? And I was like, listen, Nola is supposed to be your ace. He's got elite talent. He's supposed to be a top 10, if not top 5 pitcher in the game. I said, currently, as we speak, Wheeler has been lights out your ace. So take it with a grain of salt there. It is an amazing matchup. And I fully expect, it's kind of hard there because Max looks so dominant in his debut. And which Nola are we going to get? I could see a 0-0, 1-1 after 5 there easily. And it get to the bullpen game where again, the Phillies back end lately has been a little better. That's why kind of sort of they have that 7-game winning streak. And the Dodgers are in that same, Gasterol, Jansen. They did make a move for Kimbrel, who has not been the Kimbrel that was on the Cubs that's now on the White Sox. But the point is there are 2 teams battling both trying to win a division. And that's for us, grab your popcorn, grab a slice of pizza or a hot dog and enjoy that game. So you talked about it, and we've been going a little deeper here for the viewers here, and I'm going to try to pull it up as we speak, show you some numbers here. We're going to go right to the first 5. I'm going to pull up the money lines here from our friends at Wager Talk. Again, the spreads, the opening, and now the current numbers at Circa. You talked about Hap, and it's kind of funny. Open at 135, minus 138 there. Scherzer, 170, now 160. So you're getting a little sharper money on the Phillies' first 5 there. Carrasco opened at 235, now 220. Again, these numbers, for the most part, the St. Louis number, you can dabble there, but I'm not going to go into a 160 or a 220, obviously. San Francisco, Wood versus Gallen, 210, now 190. Stammen opened at 210, now 206. Gilbert opened at 195, now 188. Again, these are some bigger numbers. The game to keep an eye on here is Oakland-Cleveland. Manaea at 165, now 148. But I'm going to take it to the spreads where they can allow us maybe to dive into a few of the bigger favorites if we needed to. And these are minus the half runs. You can get Mad Max right now, minus a half run, minus 112 at Circa. You talked about Carrasco. If you believe he's going to get you to 4 or 5 innings, if you believe there's a big enough edge there, minus 145 for minus the hook. But we'll take a look at the over-under and the team totals and see if that's justified. Where else can I point some stuff out to you? Gilbert minus a half run is minus 125. Odorizzi, you can get them. Here's almost like a something's up number. Minus a half run, minus 105 there. If you like Milwaukee and Peralta, minus a half run, minus 150. Anything there stand out to you?
Yeah, I was one of the things that I like today, and it's going to be opposite of the steam that's happening. I like Mania today, and I like Oakland today, and I don't like Cleveland at all today. I mean, I know Cleveland beat the Reds yesterday, but this Oakland A's team's got to keep winning. They got to keep winning because they got to stay up with the Astros. They know the Astros are probably going to beat the heck out of the Rockies, so they've got to do some stuff here. And one of the things that I suppose was catching me off guard just a little bit is Sean Manaea and how great he has been for the last, I don't know, say 3 months or 2 months or so. He I always talk about Oakland and they don't have an ace pitcher, and they really don't. But if you're going to throw a guy out there that's got a game score 57 for the year, game score 56 for the last last 7 starts, and he's got a game score 62 for his last 3 starts, but his last start was a 33. What does that tell you? That tells me that the guy had an off night and he's going to pitch pretty good. So I kind of like the idea here that the Oakland A's are in a good spot, and they're facing Tristan McKenzie, who is a guy that he's very hittable. I mean, his batting average against is 260, 1.25 guys on base. His 23.2 CSW means that he doesn't get a lot of called strikes. It's not getting a lot of swing and miss. And Oakland right now, after the trade deadline with Marte, has been on, or not Marte, yeah, Starling Marte. He's been on fire, and I like the idea that that gives Chapman and Olsen a little bit of a break of how much they've had to carry that team, so they can create offense. And I played it. I was trying so hard to figure out where do I want to go with the first 5, or where do I want to go with the money line on the entire game. And I think if you play the entire game with this, Oakland and Cleveland match up halfway decent in the bullpen. Both of them will be about the same. So I don't think you have an edge there. I think their edge is at the beginning of the game where you have Manaea against Tristan McKenzie. And I played that in the first 5, minus a half a run, minus 115.
Okay, so now I'm going to take it to the next level. I'm going to go first to the totals for the first 5. Mad Max and company, they got 4.5. Mets 4.5. Both of those juiced towards the under. Kind of interesting. In the night game, Milwaukee and the Cubs, you got a 6 first 5, which that can't be right. There's no way that's right. That's got to be. I'll take a look into that. There's no way that you said that's a doubleheader, right?
Yeah, so that'd be a 7-inning game.
Okay, so I'm assuming that they're giving you that's the total for the game there. There would be no first 5, obviously. Padres 4 under. The Red Sox 5.5 under 120. Kind of makes you feel 3-2 potentially. Your Oakland Cleveland at 5. The Texas Seattle again is at 4. Second time around, they usually pitch a lot better. I think it was like 6-1 after the first 5 last time they faced in Texas. We got a 5 in Houston, and Peralta and Steele is also 5. But we'll go to the team totals right now for the first 5s and see if we can actually see where the edges are. They got the basically telling us Dodgers are going to score 2. And they're at 2.5 under 123, and they got Philly at 1.5 over 126. Kind of makes you smell like a 2-2 there. They show here we go with the Mets here. 2.5 over 115, a lean there that they're going to get you 2, and 1.5 under for Washington. So right there, feeling comfortable. Mets minus the half. If you can grab it, minus 140, 145 would be a lean. Yes, it's a little steep. And if the juice is too steep for you, there is a button at your sports book called the risk button. Okay, so if your normal wager is $50 and you don't want to go minus 140, 145, risk 50, win a little less, profit a little less, but you're only risking your normal wager. And a lot of people forget about that risk button there. I'm going to go to your Red Sox. Oakland, Cleveland. We got both at 2.5s, juiced under 152 for the Indians, and Oakland at 2.5 over 116 there. Anything else? Again, Seattle, Texas, 2.5 under 124, and Texas 1.5 under 120. So they're trying to bait you there with Seattle minus the hook there. Any of those numbers jump out at you?
What does that Detroit Baltimore game look like to you, Jeff?
Detroit, Baltimore, Mize versus Aiken. They have 2.5s on both, 2.5 over 130 for Detroit. Aiken is 2.5 under 120. Let me go to the total first five there. 5.5 over 112 money line. 135 it opened, now 140 on Mize, and the first five spread. Basically a pick 'em if you're going to give up the hook. And the game with the money line minus 115. Wow. So right there, they're telling you they like the Detroit first five, but they like Baltimore and Aiken to close the deal. That's the way I read that.
Yeah, I thought that was the same kind of thing, just looking at numbers, but I can't go down that path. I gotta go with Detroit here, and I played that full game with Detroit. I didn't play the first five. I didn't play anything. I didn't play the run line. I just played the money line, and I played it at minus 110. And I think that the difference in this game basically is that Mize is at a position in his career where, I talk about that WPA number, the win percentage added, right? So he's in the plus category now. So that means when the games are a little tougher and the innings are a little tougher and he's got guys on base, he's finding ways to get out of it. And he's finding ways to make that stuff happen. And Aiken, on the other hand, he's a negative in that category. And not only is a negative in that category, but he puts guys on base, let alone gives up hits. So his walk rate is 15%. The strikeout rate's 10%. So that's not good. You walk more guys than you strike out. That's not very good. And then his batting average against is 471. His whip rate is 3.67. That's like putting four guys on base an inning. So when you start to think about what those numbers really show and where they're at, I'm like, holy crap! I don't understand why you can't. My numbers tell me that Detroit ought to be a minus 130 favorite here. And I'm getting them at minus 110. So I kind of like that play. And well, now you got two of them. I got Mize on a full game, and I got Manaea on the first 5 innings.
It's a full board first game of the series. 2 double headers. I mean, plenty of action today, plenty of work ahead of us here at ECSI. Just because a perfect example is last night, again, we got rained out. We're undefeated this week. LOL. I'm kidding when I say that, obviously. But that doesn't mean now we just go and auto bet Peralta first 5 this afternoon. I am not releasing it. I haven't, and I probably won't. So with that said, it's a new day. There's new variables. I'll take it even another step further in the onion. The weather, and maybe the wind's blowing in, maybe the lineups change. The good thing about Sports Insights is once these lineups are presented, I get a little box right here, the ones with the three little lines, and they say the lineup. So I can also adjust. You talk about scratches, and one of the big moves again was Rogers. So that was a 40-cent move, and that was the reason why. I like to say this about the NBA. Lakers -6 at home versus the Celtics. Then a big alert, LeBron scratched. Well, LeBron's a line mover. Lakers now go to -3.5. Okay. And then people will sit there scratching their head saying, well, LeBron's averaging 28 points a game and he's out, yet the line only moved 3.5 points. Let me go run to the window and play the Celtics. I mean, did you hear LeBron's out? Blah, 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 blah. And then the Lakers go out and go box to wire and they win by 10. And it's the same thing in baseball. If, for instance, Xander Bogaerts is scratched for the Red Sox, you might see a cent or two, but it's not the game changer. The homework earlier last week, Barnes had pitched 2 games in a row. He was not there. Barnes was scratched because he tested positive for COVID. If you're not getting these alerts, if you're not doing your homework, well, you're sitting there with, let's go to the last game of the series this weekend. Sox up, 7-2 in Toronto. In come their 2 newbies. They're late ads and they just get blown up like a wood ticket. Next thing you know, they lose 9-7 or whatever the final score is. So there's so many layers to this. Just because there's action, just because you had a great week last week, just because you're on a great run, doesn't mean you can just turn over your bankroll that now is getting a little fatter and then push it in and give the books and your bookie or whoever you're playing with an opportunity to say, you're just holding this. That's all you are. You're renting it. Sooner or later, I'm going to own it.
Well, I think what people lose sight of is most people, when you're in this business, I would guess, and you're successful, you work really hard and you work all the time and you find a way to be disciplined enough to not do stupid stuff. But what has to be a big understanding is that you're fighting an uphill battle from the get-go. The sports book is going to win. So what you have to do is pick and choose your battles, and you got to be smart, and you got to place your money in the right place. You got to make good bets. And then all of a sudden, you start to get this little advantage, and you start pushing up, and you start pushing up. And then you keep doing that over time. And then what ends up happening is that weight of pushing all that stuff up gets heavy. And then you sit there and you go, holy crap, you know what? I want to just do something fun because this isn't fun right now. So you got to make a way to make it fun as you're pushing all this stuff up. Because what ends up happening is you decide you want to do something stupid and you go out and you do that stupid stuff. And then all that pushing and pushing and pushing you did, it goes for nothing because it's gone. Because then you got to start all over. So it's one of these situations where you've got to take the satisfaction out of winning or out of whatever it is that you're doing to win or to get to a point where you've earned whatever it is you got, because it's way easier to give it back, way easier to give it back than it is to keep winning. So as you're trying to do it, you have to balance the aggression with the bankroll that you have, if that makes sense. So be aggressive on your plays, right? You can't win if you don't play, and you can't win a certain amount of money if you don't play a certain amount of money. But at the same time as that's not what we're saying is to go out and be cautionary and throw it to, just throw your money out there and go wherever you want to play it. Because the truth of the matter is, you do that, you're gonna find that all of that hard work and all of that expertise that you were trying to build into your systems and it all goes out the window, and then you can't ever really recover from losses because you're trying to do too many stupid stuff, and then when you get the wins, you can't take advantage of wins and put yourself in hedge positions and different things to take advantage of the work that you did. So it's really difficult, and it's a fine line to walk. But once you understand what the fine line is, you'll never have a bankroll problem.
And we talk about that at length here. We talk about quicksand Sundays. We talk about the highs, the lows, the euphoria, and the chase game. And that's a big part. And that's just part of the mental wiring that everyone has. No better feeling than having a winning day, a winning week, and getting paid an envelope. We call it Envelope Monday, or whenever your payday is. Or a lot of people that just have accounts online or at sports books that it just keeps adding and subtracting, and if you, let's say for instance, we'll take us, we've profited 7 out of the last 8 weeks, and just say you're $100 player. We even had a Morikawa plus 3,600. Let's just say in the last 2 months your bankroll has increased $2,500, $3,000, and then now you're starting to get froggy. You're starting to get a little frisky. Well, I'm taking my $100 a play. I'm bumping it up to 150. Now, here's the thing. You technically are supposed to play 2.5 to 3% of your bankroll per play. That's it. Maybe on occasion you can step on the gas, and there's some people that will take a swing at a 5% play here and there. That's up to you. That's your bankroll management. But the point I'm trying to make is here: if you increase your bankroll, let's say 2,500 over the last 2 months, you're moving up to $150 a game. You're starting to get froggy because you think it's easy. And next thing you know, you go off the ECSI policy, you start playing more games. You start to become an action player. I'll take ECSI's plays and I'll add a few to my own. Well, next thing you know, ECSI goes 5-5 that week. We lose 1 unit. Well, you also lost 5 units. Okay. And then the next week, ECSI goes 7-8, and we lose 1.5 units. Well, you just lost another 5 on your own. Your $2,500 in the last 2 weeks that you won is now down to 1,000. You are wired to say, "Oh shit, I got to get that 1,500 back. How's the fastest way I'm going to do it?" Well, now I'm going to take my 150. I'm going to go to $200 a play. I know ECSI is going to have a great week this week. I'm going to get the 1,500 back. I'm not going to talk to Jeff about this, and everything's going to be kosher. The following week, I'm going to go back to 100. It's numbers. It's regression. It's going to happen. And next thing you know, hey, we catch a 3 and 7 week, and then you blow your load. And next thing you know, your $2,500 you had won. Now you lost that, and you lost another 500, and you're back to ground zero. And the point I'm trying to make here is the fact that it's baby steps. It's day to day, it's week to week, it's month to month. You can build up that bankroll in 7 to 8 weeks on a great run, and you can lose it in 1 week. It happens all the time.
Yeah, it's that fine line of where your adrenaline rush ends. What do you have to bet to make it interesting to have a good time? What do you have to bet to keep you entertained, right? And then at the same time, not shoot yourself when you lose. So there's a balancing act there, and every person's a little bit different when it comes to where that line is for them, and the purpose of why they bet in the first place, and what they're trying to do. But for most of us that are sitting here grinding like we do on a daily basis, the reality is we don't really advocate stepping out too much. There's no reason. I mean, you're going to make thousands of bets. So if you're way up, or your bankroll goes up, then like you just said a minute ago, the actual way to do it is by percentage of what your bankroll is. You're going to make some wagers. And then if your bankroll goes up, then your bets go up, but they're all going up still the same amount because your percentage in your account's the same. So the other part of it is, and we talked about this, I don't remember when it was, but one of the things that I always thought of is when you're making these bets and you bet enough that you are just interested in the game. I mean, you're like, holy shit, I bet this much money. Holy shit, I'm into this game. Or you bet it, and who gives a shit who wins? I want to win my bets, but if I lose my bets, oh well, I'm on to the next one, right? So it hurts, but it doesn't hurt that much. And that's kind of where you need to go to get to a point where you're understanding what it takes to actually be involved every day. If you're only involved once a week, it doesn't matter. But if you're involved every single day in all the different things that are in play, and you're becoming smarter and better at wagering, put yourself in a position that if you win, it's great, and if you lose, it doesn't matter. You can do the same thing tomorrow. Because when you can't do the same thing tomorrow, that's when it really, really hurts, because now you got to go figure out how you're going to pay the phone bill or whatever you're going to do to keep gambling, because that's kind of the idea, right? That's what you want to do. And as you're learning and growing, there's some lumps along the way.
And I'll close with this: is I get a lot of people that want to join ECSI, the VIP experience. A lot of so-called experts. Well, I've been doing this long enough. I know what I'm doing, but I'm interested in what you have to offer. And you turn around to them. Well, what's your bankroll starting? Well, I'm starting with $1,000. Okay. Uh, what's your average play? Well, I'm a $100 player. If I really like something, I might step out and go 150. And I says, and they'll turn to me and goes, well, what do you suggest, Jeff? I says, well, if you have $1,000 bankroll, technically you're supposed to bet $25 to $30 a game. Well, geez, that does nothing for me. What do you mean, $25, $30? I'm a $100 player. And they just don't understand that part of it. And what I like to say to people, and you said it perfectly, Scott, is this: if you are on the edge of your seat on every error, on every pass ball, on every missed extra point, on every pick six, you got too much money on the game. Okay, you're wrapped around like this tight wrench, and you're like you're hollering. You're on social media. You're texting me. Did you see that? Oh my God, I can't believe. There's plenty of times in our business where we handicap the game perfect, and I like to say, right side, wrong result. We were on the wrong side of an error, a pass ball, a missed extra point, a pick six, a walk-off homer. It happens. Okay, if you're wrapped up on every one of these, pump the brakes, either take a couple days off, or let's step back on your wagers. Here, if you're betting 50 a game and that's too much for you, drop it down to a quarter. I talked earlier today about the risk button. Hey, instead of trying to win $50 on a game, risk 50, win less, profit less, but you're risking less. It all adds up at the end, Scotty.
Yeah, I think that it's all interesting, and it's all kind of how everybody does it individually, but it always seems to me that everyone who's out there that makes these wagers and does these things, they don't have an end goal in mind. They have an end theory in mind. They have a theory that I'm going to be doing X, Y, and Z, and I'm going to be buying the drink bars for everybody, or buying drinks for everybody at the bar at the end of the night. And then the end of the night comes, and shit, they got to borrow money to get on the Uber. So as it goes, and how you try to figure out where it is that you're going to go, just always have that understanding that every little step you take gets you closer to somewhere. And as long as that somewhere is where you're wanting to be headed, that's fine. And you've heard me say this a million times, and I continue to say the same things. These are professional athletes. They're the best in the world, but they're not robots. They're not. They're not going to go out there and do the same thing, the same way, the same thing every day. They can't physically do it. They're going to have their days where their back hurts and their arm fell off and the toes are this and the whatever. And then there's going to be days where you know what, they got the best stuff that they got, but so did the other guy. And those guys are professional athletes. And because the other guy competed at the same level that you competed, oh my gosh, that makes it a great game to watch. It might be not a great game to bet on, depending on how you bet it. But the reality is that, these guys, just being in clubhouses and in locker rooms and different things, that they have issues at home. That their kids get sick. Their wife is badgering them about this, that, or the other, or whatever, and they got obligations that they got to deal with and stuff, and they don't always feel up to the same standard that they do. And man, baseball's 162 games. Holy crap. 160, yeah, 162 games. It's like every day, all the time, nonstop. And then the scrutiny from social media and all the other things that these guys live under these days. It's not easy to be a millionaire sports player. It isn't. I mean, and I get it. These guys make a lot of money, and everybody and their brother wishes they were there. But I'm just going to tell you outright, they get paid because they are the best in the world at what they do. And if anyone were the best in the world at what they did at any of their normal 9-to-5 jobs, they'd get paid too. So just think of it from that perspective.
Another great show as always. You can follow myself on Twitter at EC Sports Invest. Follow Scotty at Webby20 MLB on Twitter. If your notifications aren't on, please turn them on. If you have any questions for us, you can DM us. We will answer your question as soon as possible. Any emails, send them to eastcoastsportsinvestors@gmail.com. If you have a second, go over to our YouTube page at Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors, Breakfast Bankroll. Hit the subscribe button. And the same with Twitch. We're hoping this fall to be doing some live streaming on Twitch, actually giving out some information before the kickoffs, before the first pitches, and then actually watching the games live and talking about some in-game wagering, giving you some edges, maybe some hedges, and maybe winning both sides, or making sure that you at least bail out if needed, or double up. We'll see how that goes. And always remember this: if you are wagering today, always wager with your head, not your heart. If you have a problem, pick up the phone. There's an 800 number there. There's plenty of people that you can reach out to that can get the help that you do need. So from myself and Scott, we wish you the best days. Have a blessed day. Cash some tickets and always stay in your lane.